There's a common saying in Abuja, everywhere is just 10 minutes away. Well, this saying is not true these days. Traffic is getting worse every day in the nation's capital, especially in the suburbs. You may not realize this, but you're adjusting to it. You get ready for the mad traffic in the mornings, and you mentally prepare for the worst traffic on the way home. This week on Dateline Abuja, we examine the problem of heavy traffic in the FCT and the infrastructure needed to alleviate this problem. I mean, the FCT is basically a construction site. When will the construction be done? I digress. That's coming up in our feature story. This week, we speak with the Director General of the Directorate for Road Traffic Services, Mr. Wadata Bodinga. He's worried about the impact this heavy traffic will have on the already existing infrastructure and wants more regulations in public transport. In our Abuja wrap, the governors met in Abuja over rising insecurity. The National Economic Council will support INEC's bid to create more polling units. The AstraZeneca vaccine is a goal from NAFDAC, and President Muhammadu Buhari nominates a new EFCC chairman. Welcome to Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I am Kayla Magwa. The search for greener pastures comes with a price, and those perceived greener pastures must create the necessary infrastructure for population growth. That is the challenge with the nation's capital. A massive influx of people and the infrastructure is breaking down. Now, all hope is not lost, but the FCT administration must take decisive action now, complete these ongoing projects, and kick off the new transport management system. Come up with alternatives to reduce the cars on the road. That's what other major cities do. How can they do this? Well, we'll get to that shortly, but first, let's take a look at the major happenings in Nigeria's seat of power. President Muhammadu Buhari is charging the newly appointed ambassadors to ensure the protection of Nigerians living abroad. Speaking at the opening of a 3-day induction and orientation course organized by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the new envoys, President Buhari says Nigeria's diplomacy must make contributions to global challenges, particularly the containment and defeat of the COVID-19 pandemic. 96 ambassadors, 8 consul generals, and 5 chargé d'affaires were inducted. 5 more ambassador designates are yet to be screened.
You must not forget that you have been posted to our respective bilateral and multilateral missions to represent and project Nigeria as a great and indivisible nation and a very attractive investment destination. We expect you to fight hard for Nigeria and for Nigerians abroad. You must strive to promote trade, human capacity development, foreign direct investment, and other areas of cooperation with countries at national and multilateral levels. Nigeria's diplomacy must make sufficient contributions to common global challenges on how this health pandemic can be contained and eventually defeated.
Meanwhile, the president is vowing to identify and deal with those fomenting trouble across the country. Speaking when he received a delegation from Borno and Yobe states, President Buhari attributes the crisis in some parts of the country to a few rich and influential persons. He adds that his administration will strive to ensure stability across the nation.
We need this country. We will continue to work for its stability, and we will continue to appeal to you because you are the leaders of immediate communities. Things that are happening in the Southwest now, I read the report on daily basis, were unfortunate, but I'm confident that we'll eventually convince the small number of people of resource and influence that are a nuisance to this great country.
Governor Abubakar Sani has been giving President Buhari details of the abduction of 41 persons from the Government Science Secondary School, Kagara, in Niger State. The president had earlier condemned the act and dispatched the team of service chiefs to the state to coordinate the rescue efforts. According to the Niger State Ministry of Education, 27 students were abducted alongside 5 staff and 9 members of their families. Speaking after a meeting with the president at the State House, Governor Sani explains that he is requesting increased security personnel and equipment to fast-track results. The governor of Zamfara State is asking northern states to embrace the rural grazing area plan as a strategic means of ending the recurring farmer-herder crisis. He told State House correspondents after a meeting with the president that he was summoned to brief on the security situation in his state. The Nigeria Governors Forum, in reaction to rising insecurity in parts of the country, say they are totally opposed to ethnic profiling of crimes. Speaking after the first physical meeting of the forum since the coronavirus pandemic, the chairman of the forum, Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State, explains that the forum is also planning to provide financial support to victims of the security crisis in affected states.
We are full of sympathy with those who have lost lives and property. The Governors Forum have gone ahead also to provide some financial support to victims of the conflict experienced in Oyo and Ogun State, where our delegations visited over the last week. Nigerian governors also are very clear that crime and criminality should be comprehensively prosecuted wherever they may occur, without ethnic, religious, or any other coloration.
State governors have promised swift arrest, investigation, and prosecution of suspects without regard to ethnic or religious status. The governors made the pledge at the second National Economic Council meeting, which was presided over by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo. 20 governors were in attendance at the meeting, which held physically for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. President Muhammadu Buhari has asked the Senate to confirm Mr. Abdulrasheed Bawa as the substantive chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In a letter to the President of the Senate, Senator Ahmad Lawan, the President explains that he is acting in accordance with the provisions of the EFCC Act. The Federal Executive Council has approved contracts worth 62.047 billion naira for the Ministries of Water Resources, Works and Housing, and the Federal Capital Territory. Addressing journalists after the weekly virtual meeting presided over by the President, the Minister of Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, in the company of his FCT counterpart, Malam Muhammad Bello, and that of Water Resources, Engineer Suleiman Adamu, gave details of the approvals and the figures attached to them. The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control has approved the AstraZeneca vaccine for use in Nigeria 4 days after the World Health Organization listed the vaccine for emergency use. Director General of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, announced the approval at a press briefing. Welcome back. The major entry points into Abuja are plagued with traffic gridlocks every day. That's because, unlike Lagos, every government office is in the city center. And that extends to private businesses too. Everyone comes into the city center to work, and more than half of Abuja residents live in the suburbs. So gridlocks in the mornings and gridlocks in the evenings on these major entry points are just a fact of our life here. Our feature story looks at the sheer scale of the traffic problem in the FCT and what possible remedies can be adopted. Abuja's city center is renowned for its good road network as motorists travel with ease within the city. The story is, however, very different for residents in some of the satellite towns who must find their way to the city center to work every weekday. From the Yanya-Maraba axis to the Gwarimpa-Kubwa axis and the Lugbe Airport Road access point, the traffic story is the same. Motorists and other road users spend hours in traffic gridlock.
All we need is a bypass. But we don't know for this dual carriage they are doing. We don't know how long it's going to take us. But I think the most important thing is the bypass. it's going to solve a lot of problems.
The major thing that government needs to do, I think they need to expand this road. That would ease the hold up of this place.
Imagine people going to work, spending 2 hours on the road. So for me, the National Association of Road Transport Owners, National Union of Road Transport Workers, the Federal Road Safety, the VI have to come into synergy and find a way to make sure that even if it has to do with reorientation of road users, private and public road users, then we have to go into that such holistic method to get things right.
A higher population of Abuja residents live in the satellite towns, and this explains the heavy traffic leading into the city center every morning and exiting the city center every evening, especially on work days. The traffic situation is gradually gaining notoriety within the city center, and contrary to expectation, it occurs outside the rush hours.
The car is much. It's not as if the way it is before, you understand? And our own thinking is that people are no longer get job anymore again. Mostly people join transportation, you understand? Transportation is like man business now, that everybody come out and doing the transportation work now. So because of that, I think we have much cars in Abuja than before.
There's no provision for parking space. That is why everybody pick along the road. Do you understand? And passenger themselves, they doesn't go to park. They prepare roadside than inside park. So they find it very difficult. So what can we do? We don't have anything doing else than the driving. So we have to pick them in the road. Everywhere there we go. That's what causes the traffic, I think.
The FCT Minister Malam Mohammed Bello wants traffic managers within the nation's capital to address traffic congestion within the metropolis as Abuja continues to witness road accidents. According to the FCT sector of the Federal Road Safety Corps, 994 road accidents were recorded in the year 2020. Over 1,200 vehicles were involved in accidents, which involved over 4,500 persons. Over 200 deaths were recorded in these accidents, while over 1,700 people sustained various degrees of injuries. Over 2,600 persons survived the crashes. The FCT listed the major cause of accidents in the FCT as speed limit violation, overloading, tire bursting while driving, dangerous overtaking, and lack of concentration by motorists. The FRSC believes more can be done to address the traffic congestion in the nation's capital.
Look at the rush hour in the morning, rush hour in the evening, and you discover that every other businesses, government businesses, private businesses, one-man businesses, they head from Kubwa to town, from Nyanyakaro to town, from the airport road to town, and then when work is over, everybody moves out. So if we do not find a way to spread business activity, maybe government considering moving some government offices to satellite towns, getting the satellite towns properly developed with every facilities, shopping malls, schools, whatever it is that you need, that will be an attraction. And then link up the satellite towns with the city center with light rails that will ensure that the attraction to drive your car does not arise.
The Abuja light rail system is envisaged as a solution to the gridlock by the FCT administration. However, the project, which has commenced some form of operation, is still not addressing the situation because it has limited access into the city center. At the moment, 42.5 kilometers of rail line can only commute from the Central Business District to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport on a 26-kilometer stretch. The FCT administration is also planning to reintroduce the bus rapid transit system to help tackle the chaotic state of transportation in the territory and its environs. The Abuja BRT project, which is planned to run over a 32.2-kilometer distance, will run from Eagle Square in the Central Business District to Altaba Alefe in Nasarawa State as a component of the Abuja Urban Mass Transit System. Nevertheless, there is no date for the commencement of the project. My guest on the program is Mr. Wadata Bodinga, the Director General of the Directorate for Road Traffic Services. His office regulates traffic and public transportation in the FCT. Now, he agrees it's time to think outside the box and has plans that will, in his point of view, handle Abuja's traffic and public transportation problem before the end of this year. He is, however, joining the call for rails and bus rapid transit systems to begin immediately in the nation's capital. Welcome to Dateline, Mr. Bodinga.
Thank you so very much.
So this is the Directorate of Road Traffic Services.
Yeah.
And you're the
correct.
Director General. How old has this office been in existence? How long has this office been in existence?
This office has been in existence from the time the Federal Capital Territory, that is Abuja Ministry, was created. It started as a division and rise to a directorate in 2003. And since then, it has always been referred to Directorate of Road Traffic Services, and the regulation was formulated in 2005 to give it that status.
So how long have you been Director General then?
Well, I've been here as acting capacity sometimes 2016, and then later I was confirmed in 2018, and since then I have been here.
So you basically look at road traffic in the FCT.
Yeah.
You've been at this job for a while. Has there been a mutation? Has there been a change? Because from the standpoint of a citizen, it feels like there has been a change. Like there's more traffic now. It used to be the outskirts, but now within the city center, and then some particular hot points. Tell me what changes you've noticed in the in traffic in the FCT.
Yeah, as you are aware that Abuja is actually the fastest growing city. And this development is not only limited to just human traffic, including vehicular traffic. People are trooping into Abuja for greener pasture, and you can see it. It's evident everywhere. And from the characteristics of the Abuja traffic, you can see that most of the traffic are actually coming into the city and then going out, because it's a two-way traffic in the city. People are coming in the morning, and in the evening they are going out. That is very different to what is happening, for example, in Lagos, where the traffic revolves around the city almost.
So housing has a role to play here, because most people live outside of the city center in Abuja, as opposed to Lagos, where everyone kind of stays in the city center.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're saying that's part of what's
that is part of
our own special rhythm of traffic.
Special demography of traffic, yeah, certainly. And that has come with a lot of challenges, because when you have a traffic moving in one direction at the same time, except that we are lucky in the FCT that we have a lot of infrastructure. In cities, if it is if to our other states, that would have been impossible, because the volume of the traffic and the capacity of the road carriage would have been impossible for people to access the city. But if you look at the Kubwa, as well as the Lubi Axis Road, you will see that the road capacity is almost 10 length put together. That's supposed to be there. So that means that the road has the capacity to carry the vehicular movement as they are coming in. But however, as they come into the city, the road continues to compress. And because of that, definitely you sometimes experience a little snail movement. Definitely is not hardly in the city you will see hold off, like what is happening in other mega cities. But you sometimes have a snail movement which is not literally called hold off. And most of those areas, we earmark them, and you always see our men are there trying to control the traffic and ensure that people reach their destination not only safely but also timely.
So let's talk a bit about some of those hot points.
Yeah.
Recently,
yes,
the Nyanya axis was in the news. People had to sleep in town on that day because the holdup, I think a trailer had fallen on.
Yeah, a tanker.
A tanker had fallen.
Yeah.
And of course, it's raised a lot of questions about the access road into that part of the FCT. People are calling for the Apple Karshi road to be fixed. You know, they're saying it has to be done immediately. We cannot continue like this. In fact, that particular Nyanya axis, many people who come to work from Nyanya try to get back to Nyanya before 4 o'clock because they know that if they're in that hold-up, you're going to be stuck there for a long time. What's being done about that situation? And why is it so bad there?
Like what I told you, if you look at, this is simple mathematics. If you look at the road that is connecting, for example, Zuba, Kubwa road coming down, and you talk about the one that is coming from Gwagwalada axis down to the city, you can see the road capacity with that of Yanyan is very different. From our counts, taking away those indices, even the movement of people coming into the city is almost half of the people are actually coming from that axis. So confile with the fact that the road capacity is not that big.
You said that twice. When you say road capacity, what do you mean?
I mean the width.
So not enough lanes.
It does it. But
how many lanes do you think would be sufficient?
Definitely should be like that of Kubwa.
So 10.
And they are doing, you can see that work is in progress. But because of, construction usually take time, and these issues we have to continue to manage them together with other agencies. And I will tell you that truly, except the other incident that happened that day, the movement even along Yanyan Road has really subsidized from what we used to know. Because, in the past, the hold-up used to escalate up to Powerhouse Junction. From that Powerhouse Junction off to, but with the opening of this Goodluck Jonathan by the Minister of FCT, all those issues to a certain extent has reduced. So let's come back to the issue of what happened in Yanya. That can normally happen in any road, because once you have a traffic standstill of 5 minutes, then what that will cause is about traffic gridlock of about 3 to 4 hours. So you can imagine when you have a gridlock, a whole tanker blocking the road for about an hour or 2, then you know what that means. And that is unfortunately the situation. Before we move in there to remove the truck, it is already, the traffic has already built up, and that is what has caused the problem. And you remember one thing again, the impatience too. Some people decided to start taking one way and block the people that are coming. And before you know, it's a big problem. So our personnel have to even leave the other end and come back to Abacha Barak and start sending these people that have done one way. That time there is no need to arrest anybody. It's just to, how do we find a way? And our personnel left that place around 4:30 a.m. and come back. Just 30 minutes. They just go to take their baths and come back. Because by 5 a.m. they are already back. But by the special grace of God in the morning, everything has subsidized. Because people thought that if the relevant traffic agencies have not been there to actually do their job diligently, what has happened that day, even the hold-up was escalated up to next day. But because our people are very diligent, they were there, and that thing was abated.
All right. Well, Mr. Bodinga, you have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much for being on Dateline.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for having me.
Thanks to Mr. Bodinga and everyone who spoke to us this week on Dateline Abuja, especially those who complained about the recent traffic issues commuters faced at the Nyanya axis. I had to house a few people that night because they couldn't go home. Well, the FCT minister has promised that the alternative Apokarshi road will be completed very soon. So there is hope. We end as we began. The search for greener pastures comes with a price, and those perceived greener pastures must create the necessary infrastructure for population growth. That is the challenge with the nation's capital. A massive influx of people and infrastructure is breaking down. Now, all hope is not lost, but the FCT administration must take decisive action now. That's our show this week. Remember to let us know the happenings in your neighborhood using the social media handles showing on your screen. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Kayla.